Okay, I think everyone out there by now knows that Beretta has finally done something they should have done years and years ago. They made a G decocker lever that converts a Type F to a Type G with no milling required to the slide. It's something you can do at home. As you can see here, this is not one of my Wilson Combat G-type models, and it's not a G-type Beretta, because G-types are hard to find. This is just a regular Beretta, but as you can see, it is now decocker only. Now, some people out there that aren't as familiar with the Berettas might wonder why you just don't buy a G model. Well, they're hard to find. And other people might be like, well, why don't you just get one of the Wilson Combat models? Well, because they're expensive. They're worth it, but they're expensive. And the problem with having your gun sent in and having it converted to a G model is when you're bothering to do that, you end up doing a bunch of other stuff too, so you end up with a gun that's actually too nice to carry, similar to the Wilson Combats. Now, I know a lot of people don't think they're too nice to carry, and they're really not. You shouldn't judge your carry gun on how much it costs. Carry the best gun you can, but I think a Beretta 92 is a great carry gun on its own if it just didn't have that manual safety. And now you can have one without a manual safety without having to find a G model or sending it in for modifications. As I already showed you, I already converted this one. This one is my Brigadier, my 92 Brigadier. Now, I didn't film it because I figured there was going to be way too much cussing for me to possibly edit it all out, so I didn't even bother. I just put this one together. Now, I was having a lot of trouble at first because there was a lot of parts in the little bag that I didn't know what they were. There were too many parts, and I couldn't figure out how does this go together, where do all these little parts go. So I looked up one of the videos online of someone putting one in, and I found Mrgunsngear's video, and I fast forwarded through the first part to get to where he was actually doing the assembly, and I noticed he laid out all the parts on the table and he wasn't using all the parts. So then I looked at the parts closely and I realized all they did was put extra parts in the bag. There's actually an extra set of plungers for both sets of springs and plungers for the safety. It's really clear why they do that, so in case someone loses one of them while they're putting it together, some numbskull doesn't know how to do it, and they shoot one of their springs across the room, which I immediately proceeded to do. I actually lost the weak hand side plunger and spring within seconds of trying to install the new safety, so I was glad there was an extra one in there. So today I'm going to take a few moments to actually change out the safety on a couple of my other guns. I'm actually only going to show you it on one gun, but there's a couple of other guns I want to change out. I've actually got 3 safeties total. I actually bought one from a local guy who actually had one extra, and he was very nice, and he actually offered to sell it to me for less than what I could buy it for retail. It was still in the package, so I went and met him and bought it, and that's the one I used to convert my Brigadier. And to that guy, I want to say thank you, and I want to say I hope you enjoyed your cheeseburger you were eating off the tailgate of your truck in the parking lot when I got there to buy it from you, Mr. Redneck. It's nice to see there's rednecks even here in Washington and Oregon. But thanks for that. Thanks for actually selling me the one, but then I was able to get 2 more from Beretta, so I'm going to convert my 96A1 and I'm going to convert my Beretta 92 Compact L. This would make a great carry gun with the decocker. Now, I already have the Wilson Combat version of this gun, but like I say, why would I carry something so beautiful when I can just convert a regular one like this over, use this as the workhorse, and the other one can be my range gun / showing off at the, the barbecue gun. So let's go ahead and get started here, and I will actually start the work on this gun. And the first thing I need to do is take the slide off and take the safety out. That's pretty easy to do. Now, a lot of people would say to take the firing pin block out here before you start doing this, but I don't. I just work around it. Makes it a lot easier because you don't got to put it back later. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here is take out the 2 little pins here that hold the weak side safety on right here, the right-hand side safety. So we're just going to punch those down through and take that off. Now, normally you'd have to make sure to save these, but you're not going to need these for the new installation. But you might want to keep a hold of them if you ever plan on using this safety again in something else. I don't ever really plan on using this safety again. You can take these out from either side. I always take the first one out from the top and the second one out from the bottom. Because if you try to do the second one from the top, it tends to rotate the safety. And just pop this off. Okay, now to take the actual safety off, all we got to do is 2 things at once here. Actually, 3 things at once. You got to push up on the little firing pin safety right there. There's a little button in there you can see. You just push that in with your finger, and it'll raise that firing pin safety on the other side. And then you got to push in on that little piece right there, that little piece that transfers the energy from the hammer to the firing pin, that little transfer piece right there. You got to push that in. And then while you're doing those two things, you got to rotate the safety upwards like this. This is when it'd be nice to have 3 hands, but then I guess you'd be kind of a freak, so it wouldn't be that nice. There, clicked right up. And here's a perfect little example here. When it slid out a little bit, this stuff shot across the room. These little springs, these are the things that are easy to lose. Now, normally I would do this in a hefty bag so that these wouldn't shoot out all over the place. They'd still be inside the bag. But I don't need these again to reuse this safety because I'm not going to reuse this safety. But I am going to try to keep them around just in case I want to package this up and someone else wants a metal safety. Because this isn't all metal one, it's not the plastic ones, and someone might want it. So I am keeping all the parts. Then you just work the safety out. And there's also another little spring over here that's really easy to lose. It's right there. See if you can see that right there. That one is the one that's real easy to lose. That's the one I lost a little bit ago when I was installing the new safety. Okay, the safety is out of this one. So now all we got to do is put the replacement safety on, and let's go over what parts are in the bag, which ones you'll actually need unless you lose some of them, and let's just put it on. Okay, here's one of the other little kits that I've got here, and as you can see, it's got all those little extra parts in there that I didn't know where they went. Now I know they're just extras. So let's lay out the parts we're actually going to need. Okay, we're going to need the main safety part. We're going to need the weak side safety. Then we're going to need the little round spring-a-ma-doodle here. This is actually the only part that doesn't have an analogous piece on the old safety. This is the only piece that only is on the new safety. Then you're going to need one of the bigger springs and plungers. I've already put them together here. And you're going to need one of the smaller springs and plungers here. There's 2 of each of these in the bag. You're only going to need 1 each unless you lose one. And then the last thing you need out of the bag is this little roll pin here for the weak side safety. And then out of your old safety, the only thing you're going to need is that little plunger right there. That little transfer piece, the one that transfers the energy from the hammer to the firing pin. And that just falls right out. Now to put this back together, all you're going to do is put that little plunger piece, that little transfer piece, in the same spot it came out of in the old safety, and put this safety into the gun part way. And it goes in while it's still kind of pointed up, just the way it was when you took it out. And you might have to use a punch here to make sure the little piece is up to where it's not sticking down out the bottom of the piece, or it will not go in. And remember, you're going to have to push up on the firing pin safety as you're doing this. Since we didn't take it out, you have to push that up to where that little piece right there is sticking upwards before you can work this down in. There we go. Don't put it in all the way, just put it in part way. Now once you have it pushed back far enough that that little hole is exposed, take that little round spring and stick that over the post. Just work it down in there over this little post right here, and make sure that little stick part, that little pointy part, is pointing upwards right there. You see that? That's got to be pointing up. And make sure you get the other little leg of it inside the gun. It can't be sticking out. Once it's properly seated, it should fall all the way down in there to where it's no longer in the way at all. Now we got to take the little spring and plunger and put it in that little hole right there. Right like that. Then you're just going to very carefully push that little plunger down out of the way and slide this piece in a little bit more to where the little post holds it in place. As you can see that right there, the little post on the safety is holding that plunger in place. It won't fall out now. But you got to make sure you still got this hole exposed on this side. There's a little hole down in there where the other plunger goes. It's really hard to show it to you on camera here, but it's right there on the face of the round part of the safety, right between this little lever and the slide itself. And what you're going to do right now is just take the bigger plunger and spring and just stick it down in that hole. Right there like that. And then once you have it in there, just push it in with something non-marring, like in this case a popsicle stick, and then push the safety into place. And it'll pop down as you do. Okay, now you're going to put on your weak side safety, and you'll see there's a little hole in there right there. That lines up with that little piece that was sticking up off that spring. And the real trick here is you have to actually reach in there and push that little plunger back down to get this on properly. So push that plunger down. Get the little post put around to where you can reach it. Just wiggle it around as much as you can to this side. And then put your safety here on it with that little hole lining up with it. Once you get it on there, you should feel the resistance when you try to twist it around. As you can see there, I'm getting resistance. So the next thing you have to do is spin this around to where it is lined up with the safety on the other side and with the hole. And you're going to feel this being under pressure the whole time. So then you're going to have to start the little pin here. This is where a pair of needle nose pliers really comes in handy, and a small tack hammer. Then you just use your punch to tap it in. And it is now installed. When you push the safety down, it should pop right back up. It should decock only. So let's just put it back together here and see if it all works. Okay, here's our first test. Let's see if it works. Works just fine. So now I have a Type G gun, didn't have to send it in to be modified, and didn't have to go to the trouble of trying to find one of the rare actual Type Gs. Now, the only real noticeable difference on the gun after you've made the modification is that the weak side safety is a little bit different. It looks kind of like the safeties they used on the Cougars, but it's really not that big of a difference. I doubt you'll ever even notice it once you get used to it. So there you have it. What used to be a great carry gun, but was held back a little bit by that manual safety, could easily be one of the best carry gun options you could find today, if you like a 9mm semi-automatic gun. Because in the past, the only thing that held it back was that manual safety. And now, for just $45, you can change it at home. You don't have to send the gun off. You don't have to try to find the rarer model. You can take any off-the-shelf Beretta 92 and make it into what might be the best carry gun on the market today.